let's take a look at the Compass Farm Data Planning System through AGI. Compass is a cloud-based farm data management system that's accessible from any device as long as you can get to the internet using a modern web browser. So from your phone, tablet, PC, laptop, Apple device, does not matter. As long as you can receive an internet signal to your device, you can access the program. And it's as simple as typing in our secure website, your username and password, and clicking sign in. I'm immediately brought to the details about my farm, and Compass itself is comprised of 6 main pillars included with your monthly subscription: farm, crop, soil, scout, contracts, and stock. We also have a few add-on features such as CDMS or crop data management services and our hosted bookkeeping service Compass Day to Day. Now, before I go into the details about the farm and the main pillars included with the subscription, I'm just going to click on the Compass logo or the little home icon here, and that's going to take me to a custom dashboard just for my farm. Right from the dashboard, there's a lot of information at a quick glance. On the left-hand side, I can click a quick action and go right to that appropriate section to create a brand new record, or I can edit an existing record. Compass is always getting updated, and we do regular updates throughout the year to the core system. So farm through stock will get updates, and that's included with your subscription. Quite often you log into the system before we've had a chance to phone you or access some training for you, and we'll put information about that up here, which will give you an indicator of whether or not you want to call the Compass team and book some training or what that new item may be. Over to the right, we also have our built-in scouting calendar, which lets me see past, present, and future scouting activities. So it can be a great way for me to plan what's upcoming in my next few weeks and see exactly what activities I have to do. Scrolling down, I'm going to focus back in the center here, and we get an overview of all of this farm's mapped fields. Now I'm just going to turn these pins off so it gets a little bit cleaner. And there we can see all the mapped fields and acreage for this farm. Now I've gone ahead and created my own custom color legend so at a quick glance I can see exactly what's being planted on my fields and make some quick decisions. Over on the left is an included 5-day weather forecast provided by DTN, who does weather for Major League Sports as well as most airports. So you know you're getting the most up-to-date and accurate weather you can. And it is based off the zipper postal code for your local farm. But if you know you're going to a field that's in a different area, you can type that in, select, and get the updated weather for that location. Now back over on the far right, we have a section called Since You Last Logged In, and this tracks through crop, soil, and scout the most recent 6 or 7 activities that were performed. We did this because quite often you may have multiple users going into your system, whether that's somebody on the farm or a trusted advisor you've given a portal to, but also yourself, you may get pulled away from the computer while working on an activity and not remember exactly what you were working on. This can be a quick way to come in and actually click on the item and go right back to it. Scrolling down below that is an Actions for the Week section, and this shows me anyone with a login to my farm, exactly what they've been working on over the last 7 days. And lastly, in the center here, we have a new message or notes section. Think of this like a virtual whiteboard or corkboard, and it can be used for a multitude of purposes, whether that's communication between you and other employees with logins on the farm, you and the trusted advisor, or even a place to keep tasks that you have upcoming as a reminder to yourself. Scrolling back up, I'm going to click on the farm profile and show you all the details contained within. So up top, we can see all the general information for my farm, including the name, locations, contacts, emails, websites, general information. Because Compass is cloud-based, I do recommend if you change, edit, or add new data, you click the Save button, and you'll get a pop-up reminding you that it's all been backed up on our numerous servers North America-wide. There should never be a reason you can't access your data through the Compass program. Here's the virtual whiteboard or corkboard section, and it's as simple as going Add Comment, typing in your appropriate comment. Need to scout field 5 by Friday. Doug, can you do this? Add that, and it date and time stamps it. So when Doug logs into the system and sees, okay, this was added July 20th, that was Monday, I need to get this done by Friday. As soon as that item has been completed or no longer necessary, it's just as simple to remove it. Now, built into Compass, we also have a contact section. I know you may already have them saved in your smartphone, your tablet, but one of the main reasons for having a contact in Compass is not just for accessibility, but also because within Compass we have built crop sharing reporting, and it all starts by adding that person as a contact and identifying them as a crop share participant. As we go through the demonstration, I'll point out all the different places you can set up parameters for your crop share participants that will automatically start generating reporting based on your crop applications. Let's get down past the contacts, and the first major section that's going to carry through Compass and any other pillar is the field section. So let's click on the Glen Abbey field as it's unmapped. Right from a field level, you can see a ton of information of what's happening. Not only just the general information, such as what type of crop we're doing, any cultural practice, ownership, inventory locations, and even some general information that pertains to the CDMS add-on but can be used by anybody accessing the Compass system. You can track your address, whether it's a street address or using the legal land description. You can identify multiple legal land addresses and if they crest over multiple quarters. Now, scrolling down to the field size information, what's most important to track is the planted acres. This number is going to be what carries through the remainder of Compass when we're creating a crop plan, soil sample, scout record, or tracking a harvest. But we know that the government charges you land taxes on the entire parcel of land, including those unusable acres, so you can also track those for an overview of the entire acreage of the field. Now, before we get into mapping, let's scroll down and see all the information we can see right from the field level. We've got a secondary section here for comments. This works identical to the one you just saw on farm, but is now specific to the field. We can also see any soil samples that have been taken for this field and even add brand new ones direct from the field level. The pencil icon will take me to any of the already created records and allow me to edit or modify the details. Scrolling down, we can also see any active or forecast crop plans we're working on and go directly to them. Any scout records we've added, some basic details about each, such as the number of observations contained, click the pencil to go right to it, or even add brand new ones. Now, just below this is a section called Files. Quite often we know if you're a grower and you're taking on a new digital system, you may have been working with an Excel file, Word documents, or have things specifically that you want to have attached to this field without having to enter the data manually. We've given you the File section to do this, and you're not restricted by what kind of file you can upload, only by the size of each file, which has to be 7 megabytes or less. So if we're talking an Excel spreadsheet, that's over 3,000 columns long. So you can upload your accessible data here and still have it available. Scroll down and we have an optional section here called Field Details to enter in any specific details about your field, like your expected nitrogen release, region type, any notes, what check-in date you last had, soil information or irrigation information as well. And we talked about crop share participants starting off in contacts, and here's where we can start to identify the percentages and auto-generate reporting based on how we're splitting off the costs on this field. And I can add a participant whether they're sharing expenses and profit or just profit only. Now, whenever I use this field in a crop plan moving through Compass, we'll auto-generate reporting based on this 80-20 split. Let's scroll up and we're going to take a look at mapping. I'm just going to click the View Map button, and Compass opens up in a Google Maps format, so something that everybody's used at some point or is very familiar with. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to drag this map over and find the field that I wish to map today. And I can get as detailed in as I want, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Edit Field, which up top brings up some drawing options. So I have a circle drawing option. If I have pivot acres, I can draw a perfect circle and place it directly on the center of my pivot. Or in this case, I want to draw the field boundaries. And it's a simple point and click operation once I've selected it. Just click around the field boundaries that I want to track. Don't worry if you're not perfect the first time, it can always be edited at a later date. And now we've drawn our field shape. I also have the ability to add any specific points of interest that I'd like to the field. We can add a general, warning, helicopter or airplane landing, aerial obstruction, or even mark a field entrance. And every single point of interest has a description field where we can describe a little bit more about it. This is the main entrance for our deliveries. Adds it right to the map. As mentioned, we also have the ability in Compass to custom color code. So if I knew what I was going to be growing and wanted to match it to this legend, let's say this year this field is barley, I can color code it and have that available. Going to setup color is where you can set up that custom color legend. However, as mentioned, if I don't want to do this manually and change those colors year over year, I can let Compass set it up, and based on what's on an active crop plan or a forecast crop plan, Compass will generate colors for me. Now I'm going to save this field, and based on what we just drew in Google, 116.8 acres is that boundary shape. We identified 266, so I could go back to that main page and adjust my acreage to reflect so I'm getting accurate calculations. But I also can see right here it's giving me a lat and long for that main entrance for deliveries, and right away the active plan that's on this field and some of my upcoming applications, and can go right to it. Any of my most recent forecast crop plans for this field, soil samples, including those with returned results, and my 3 most recent scout records, and if I dropped any pin locations, I can toggle those on or off to this field. Now scrolling up, we do have 3 options across the top of the map. The first is export. You've drawn this map shape, maybe you're hiring an aerial applicator or you've got a brand new trusted advisor who's never been to this field. You can export this map shape in GML, WKT, or GeoJSON file and send it to the appropriate person, or upload it into another device that can read those file formats. However, if you've already got your map shapes drawn, we don't want you to have to manually draw them in Compass. We can import those in Esri shapefile, GML, or KML and have those boundaries in Compass. Lastly, we have Field Snapshot, and what this does is it takes a snapshot of this field map that we've drawn and will now include it on soil samples or scout records, so when I'm noticing my observations and geotagging them with a pin marker, it will print directly onto this map image. Now, if we go back to the farm profile and we go down to this field itself, we're now going to see that it has been mapped. And because we added a field entrance, we have one new option that's become available, and that is the route button. By clicking route, it's going to open this up in Google Maps, and from my current location to that field entrance we've identified will give me accurate directions. I can send these to my phone or to somebody else. So again, if you have that trusted advisor or maybe a new farm hand who's never been to that field, save them some time and effort driving around to find that entrance. You can actually send them right through Google Maps. Back on the farm profile, we're going to scroll down past the field section, and there's a secondary section for files. This works identical to the one we saw in fields. However, this is overall to the farm. And you can see here I have a PDF, Excel, Word doc, and an image to show you you're not restricted by those file types, just by the size per file. Next on the profile, we have the equipment section. So within Compass, you can track all of your pieces of equipment, but one of the highlights of this section is not just tracking the details for that equipment, but being able to apply a running cost per acre. Within Compass, we've built extensive expense tracking options for your crop plans, including your equipment per pass costs. And by applying a running cost per acre in here, when we apply this piece of equipment to a crop plan, Compass will automatically multiply the running cost per acre by the amount of acres applied to give you a per pass cost. But in here, we can also track our fertilizer tank information, our seeding equipment information, and any appropriate notes. Notes can be used for a multitude of ideas in equipment, such as tracking maintenance, If it's a combine, maybe multiple headers for different crop types, or any different things you would like to track in there. Back on the main page, we're going to scroll down to the very last section on farm, and that's our built-in custom fertilizer blend calculator. And it's very simple to use. I'm just going to click Add Blend. And up across the top, put in my nutrient requirements in pounds per acre that I wish to apply. So we're going to build a very plain blend here, 80, 40, 20, 10. And I have a drop down here to add any micros I want in, or gypsum, water, filler, or any add-ons. So I really can customize this to fit exactly what I want. And I'm going to build this either for a field size in acres or an overall tonnage. Let's build it for that 266 acre field we mapped. Give it a blend name, as well as a blend fee. Now, this was designed from the perspective we know that your retailer or whoever's providing that blend quite often could charge you per ton to mix it, store it, deliver it, and you want to be able to track those costs as well. So by putting a fee in here, it will bury it within the cost of the created blend. Now, Compass can build a dry blend. Compass can build a liquid blend, and it will automatically convert to liquid equivalent ingredients. In this case, let's build a dry blend. And I'm just going to remove a couple of items. And you'll see right away Compass has indicated I don't have anything with sulfur in it. I will have to pick an item. And these are the items I've built into my system. Compass gives you extreme customization where you can add all the different products that you would use on your farm, including your own pricing that you see from your retailer. Now, the blend calculator does work on a least cost formulation. So to build out my nutrient requirements up top, it's going to try to use more of my Mez 1333 because it is cheaper with more of my nutrients available. I can also set limiters within Compass. So if I click the wrench icon, I can select, do I want exact pounds of this overall item? Do I want a percentage of it to be required in the blend? Do I want a specific nutrients item weight in pounds? Or even a ratio to item where I can identify for every 5 pounds of nitrogen from the Mez, I want to add 2.5 pounds of nitrogen from my MAP or one of my other products that has nitrogen in it. I'm just going to click Calculate Blend and see what Compass comes up with for me. Over here we have our actual, our analysis, our suggested application rate, which we have the opportunity to override for a heavier or a lighter application. And Compass will automatically regenerate the new actual for me based on what we've updated in here. We also get the density it's creating in cubic feet, pounds per cubic feet, cost per acre, cost per ton, total weight in tons, field coverage in acreage, total volume in cubic feet, and our items used and product rate in pounds over here on the right. Now, because it did use more of my MES 15, we do have a slight overage on our sulfur of 8.2 pounds per acre. I could always come up here and readjust to get that down to what I want, or even select a different item that maybe isn't going to overload my sulfur. Down on the bottom, I do have 5 options. I'm going to click the first one, Save Blend, which now activates everything else. Now I can delete this blend. I can convert these calculations into US ton. And by clicking Show Item Weights, it tells me how much of each component in metric tons is required to create this entire blend. Now from there, I also can print a batch ticket. And this will be the first report we're going to see in Compass. Almost every report in Compass will open in PDF format, allowing you to email it, share it, print it, or you can export into Microsoft Excel already formatted. So there's our blend that it's already picked. We can add it into a crop plan if we choose. It's going to make 35.5 tons to cover 266 acres. And in the batch size, this is where I can identify how much I want made up at each time. Generally, this would be how much I can pick up in my truck. I can pick up 8 tons at a time, and I can choose, do I want those weight results in stop or component weight? And the style, whether it's a full, partial, or an average. Let's click download and see what the report says. Opening up our PDF here, we can see up top, there's our batch ticket printed by the user that's logged in. There's our specifics we'd entered in to create this batch. There's our overall product analysis and our actuals, and the details for making up 8 tons of this blend. Now, Compass also realizes to create the full 35.5 tons, we're going to need 4 8-ton batches and 1 partial batch to complete the mix. Now let's jump into the crop pillar and talk about building your crop plans in the Compass program. In Compass, you can build an unlimited number of forecast crop plans and compare them side by side with custom reporting, as well as track all of your active crop plans, as well as their as-applied actuals and how you did versus your forecast options. See all of your previous year's closed plans with a built-in templating feature, especially handy for those rotational crops when it's time to come back and grow. Don't have to rebuild your entire crop plan. You can actually copy it and paste it. Let's take a look at a forecast crop plan and just how simple it is to build one within Compass. All you need to do to create a forecast crop plan in Compass is give it a name, select a growing season from your customizable drop-down menu, and the crop and variety you plan on growing. From there, we're going to click Save. And then rather than what a lot of other systems force you to do, which is create a crop plan for Patrick peas for every single field we're going to grow on, in Compass we do it differently. We know we're going to grow Patrick peas on multiple fields, so we're just going to add all of those fields to one single crop plan. And then I can come in and add my hopeful yield per acre, my hopeful sell price per unit, and from adding some applications, I get my first generation report here, which is an overall field plan analysis that just pops up very quickly for me and gives me my overall sales per acre versus my expenses for an overall profit, and then totals for my field. Also, I can see where all of my different expenses are going by group. In this case, my administration, hired hands, and insurance are taking up most of my expenses, followed then by my crop applications. I can also view those by product type. So my fixed expenses, which we saw before in separate lines, is 71.3% of my crop expenses, and then I go into herbicide and some of my applications. Now, this is also a very handy section where we have another option for crop sharing. If we didn't already have parameters set on the field level that would carry through automatically, we can now add different participants in or modify any of the details for ones that are here. And it just takes that for this crop plan. It doesn't override any of the details we preset on the field level. Also available here is the ability to override field acres. If I've already built an entire crop plan for 100 acres and we then realize we actually have an extra 10 acres we could plant on, I can click here and change those acres not just on the field level, but on every application that had already been added, and Compass regenerates the math. Now, speaking of applications within Compass, you can add seed treatments, fertilizer, including those custom blends or individual applications, foliar, product, and a large section for included expenses. So therefore, at the end of the season, you're going to have a realistic ROI, ROE, and break-even point, and have no surprises when you add your expenses in. Let's look at how easy it is to add an application, and we're just going to add product, since product, foliar, fertilizer, seed treatments, and seed are going to add virtually the same way. Now that I've selected what application type I'm doing, I can select all the fields this applies to, and I even have the option to customize the amount of acres we're doing that application if it's not the full field, or maybe we're over applying this product. And then I'm just going to follow my way through the menu system. Item type is a customizable drop-down menu that each grower gets that allows you to put different categories for your products. I'm going to select fungicide. And then what Compass does is in the item box, it isolates out only products that I've identified as a fungicide application. And I can either scroll through all the products I've added, or I can start to type to look for a specific product and find exactly what I'm looking for. I can also select whether this is a brand new purchase for this year or if it's existing stock. And by selecting existing stock, Compass will actually pull this application directly from my stock quantities and decrease them. I also have the ability to track an expense date, a reason for agronomic purposes, and even a specific growth stage if I want to put this down at a specific point. Now I am forecasting or targeting, so I'm working on the left-hand side blue box, and I'll pick an apply date, unit of measure based on what I've built into the system, and how I'm going to apply that, either acres per jug or jug per acres. Now I know with this product I can get about 40 acres a jug, and at $53.62 a jug on 998.6 acres, that's going to cost me $1.34 an acre, $1,338.75 total, and I need 24.965 jugs for the application. Scroll down and we can see some additional details that are optional to add for this application. I'm just going to click Add Application and I'll show you what the other tabs look like. Here's what we can add for foliar, for fertilizer, for seed treatment, and Compass also gives us the option. It knows what seeds we've applied based on our seed applications. If I don't know the applicable rate for the seed treatment, I can put how many seeds in bushels get treated per US gallon, and Compass will give me the ability to click the check mark and put that suggested application rate up top. Lastly, we have seed, and I pulled in my seed variety from my crop plan, and if I didn't know my suggested application rate, I could go to the retailer or that bag of seed, put in my germination, mortality, total kernel weight, expected plants per square foot, pounds in that unit of measure, and again, Compass would give me a suggested application rate that I could click the check mark and apply up top. Also, especially important if you're a seed reseller, you want to definitely track that certificate and lot number. It's available right here in Compass. Now, when I clicked Add Application, it didn't just apply it right to the crop plan yet. It dropped it into a tray down below for quick review so I can ensure these are the correct fields we want to do that application. Is it the right product? Is that looking like the right rate, quantity, and cost? Once I click Submit and Save, it's that easy. It's now on my crop plan. Now, to remove something, it's just as simple. I'm just going to scroll down to those applications we just did. Lots of applications on this crop plan, and select the ones we wish to remove. And I just have to click the red X, and it's just that simple to remove them from the crop plan. Now, I did mention how important expenses are to a crop plan. Let's look at what we can add in Compass. Again, I'm just going to click the Add New button there, and now I can select all the fields this expense applies to, and again, same parameters. I can customize the amount of acres we're doing that with. Now, if I leave this as expense, the drop-down menu here is completely customizable by you. You can add whatever you want to track for your expenses. So you can really get from a macro or micro level down and see everything that you're doing on those fields. Now, we did talk equipment, so if I select equipment here, there's the combine that we looked at, and it runs at $22 an acre. So to go across 197 acres, a single pass is going to cost me $4,334. If I went and I combined more than once, if I went across that field 4 times, now my single pass application is still the same amount of money, but overall it cost me $17,000 to run that combine, or $88 an acre. Now there are 2 other items we can track in here, and that is our irrigation with a bunch of additional details, as well as our tillage and more details down below. So you can see how the expenses section really will give you a realistic ROI, ROE, and break-even point as you go through the season. Lastly, on a forecast crop plan, I want to talk about some of the options on the bottom. So I'm just going to scroll the screen right down to the very bottom of the crop plan, and we have the ability to favorite the plan. This is going to have an application later on in the stock pillar where it's going to, if I favorite a plan, it will put it to the top of a menu selection screen. I can copy a plan, which is our template feature, and this is available in forecast, active, or closed crop plans and can save you a lot of time when you want to replicate exactly what you did on a particular crop type. So let's check that out. I can copy this crop plan into a brand new one, or even an already existing crop plan. So think fertilizer applications that may be similar across 2 or 3 different crop varieties and types. You may want to build one fertilizer plan, copy it out to the others, and then add the different applications you need. It can save you some time. And then once I've selected my parameters, I can choose my season, crop, variety, and what do I want to copy? The applications, the expenses, or both? Which fields are we copying from, and which fields are we copying to? So think of it as a carbon copy for what you're working on and want to replicate for easier use. Let's go into the active season and see what Compass does with an active crop plan and how simple it can be to track our as-applied actuals. Once we come into the active season, we can see Compass has locked down our target values that we selected before. And now we have 2 opportunities here to track our bushels per acre. The first is we can manually type in what we did at the end of the season and put in our sell price. Or as I'm out there harvesting, I can click this plus icon and track each individual harvest, and then Compass will work out the math based on the amount of harvested bushels versus those acres to see how we did. So we can see not only did it add a harvest here, it will also build out those bushels per acre, but now there's already a harvest sitting in the contract pillar just waiting for me to give it a storage location. Let's see if we went from 35.7 bushels an acre. What did we get to now? 71.4 based on those 2 harvests added together. Now I want to scroll down. One of the most powerful features available in the active crop plan is our target versus actual graph and built-in financial table. And as you're out there updating your crop applications, this table and graph update in real time, which can be a real great tool to help you make quick decisions in the field when you notice either something's coming way over budget that it shouldn't be, way under budget, or something that never has hit on budget is doing that. You can really see exactly what's happening with those expenses on the field. So if we scroll down here, we can see these have not been updated yet, but down here on some of my seed applications, I saved money on 2 of them, but definitely went over budget on this application itself. Now, how can I update those applications? I've got 2 different methods. The first is by clicking the target button here, and my target values set in forecasting become my actual. But in farming, we know that doesn't happen very often, so I can click on the item itself and go in and put my actuals down. Now we can see over here, here's what we budgeted to do on the left. Now we can put in when did we actually apply. And instead of half a bushel per acre, we got 0.7 bushels per acre. So we did a heavier application, or it was a much better application. But what did we pay? Instead of $12 per bushel, we paid $13. How does that work out? We still saved just under $6 an acre. Click update, and now that becomes my actual, and updates that graph and table in real time. Now, if I made a mistake, I can always come back and update that actual until I've closed the crop plan. There we go. We saved $456 on that overall application. Now, if we scroll down, you'll notice every section still has the Add New button. We know that throughout the season, you can't plan for everything that could potentially happen, but you still want to be able to track any applications you didn't plan for and see how they affect your overall profitability. So you still have the Add New button. It doesn't allow you to forecast it, it just takes it as an active or red application. Get down to the bottom here, and we do still have a few options available. The template feature. I can close the crop plan if I've hit the end of my season, or I can revert to forecast, remove, and play around with items. Closed just gives me the ability to see previous year's crops, what plans I've closed from those previous years, but still gives me access to that templating feature. So for example, my wheat from 2016, I'm now 4 years later, I'm going to rotate that crop around with the same fields, same applications. It was a great year for me. I'm just going to copy that template over and then readjust my expenses. Now, included in Compass is an extensive amount of reporting that can be generated just from creating a single crop plan. But every report except for one can be run for multiple crop plans side by side or top to bottom, so you can really compare everything you're doing. Let's start off with the crop breakout report. This one's very handy from a perspective where I can put all of the different crop plans I'm working on. It will track the plant name, field name, legal address, acres, is it irrigated, crop name, variety, and yield. More often than not, I will use this report to track, am I covering the amount of acres on the farm that we know we have, and am I missing any specific fields? Now, quite often, you want to know the split between two different crop types. So we also have our crop summary report, which now takes that canola and the peas and separates them out by their fields and acres being grown on. And this report will go one step further and take your actual or forecast yield per acre multiplied by the acres to give you your actual or forecast yields. The next report is our fertilizer application summary, which takes into account all the fertilizer applications on a crop plan or crop plans, in this case, canola and peas. Now up top, we can see that it's a dry fertilizer application for field 6 on our crop canola. We're targeting 50 bushels an acre, and this is a straight urea application, our 4600, and we're applying it at 185 pounds per acre at a cost of $42.74. Also included in this, looking down below, I can see based on this analysis, this is one of our custom fertilizer blends we created and applied to that crop plan. And again, it's rate per acre, unit of measure, and cost per acre. The next report is our blend product summary. Quite often you may own a blender on the farm, and it can be a time and money saver for you to pick up all of an individual product and blend it yourself, rather than pick up two separate blends at the retailer and apply them. So this gives you the breakout of all the components used in the blends and their breakout by field. Now the next report is one of our big ones. It is the product summary by crop plan. And again, can be run in a multi-crop plan format. This is canola and peas. And the first page is going to start off with canola. And we break this report out by those categories of applications that we're applying. So first off, we're seeing my crop nutrients dryer, my dry fertilizers, broken down by field on the canola plan with its description, unit of measure we're applying in, quantity for the field, as well as overall cost. As we scroll down, we can see we've also got fungicide categorized, all of our herbicides, seed products, and when we get to the very next page, it's going to be our peas plan. Now I'm going to skip over that because it's the same information we saw in canola, just broken out by the peas. And now we're going to come down to this, which is the combined total. So rather than breaking out a calculator and adding up all my MAP applications by field, I now can see that for MAP overall for both my peas and canola, I need 76.65 tons at a grand cost of $44,842.07. As I scroll down, the very last portion of this report is going to be the combined total. So overall, to grow my canola and peas this year, I need to purchase $479,000 of product for applications. A lot of growers will use this report to either send out to a retailer as a tender to see who can give them the best price, or even pre-order from the retailer and secure a better discount. Next, let's look at the crop production costs. This report is going to give me my ROI, my ROE, as well as my break-even points. Now, in this case, I'm only looking at one plan, my peas plan, and I'm doing it from a forecast model. I could do this from any phase. Up top, we can see my entered details, and then all of my expenses per acre broken down by the categories in the Compass crop plan. So seed treatment, fertilizer, foliar, product, any variable or fixed expenses are included as well. So I'm really, when I go scroll down here, getting a true ROE, true ROI, and a real break-even point as I go through the season. So this allows me to make any quick decisions I need to adjust and keep my income flowing in. And down below I get my revenue versus my expenses for a net income per field and a grand total for the overall crop plan itself. The next report is our financial summary, and we designed this report because we know quite often as a grower you may not have the cash on hand to cover all those expenses and you might have to go into the bank to borrow. And we asked the largest financial institutions in North America, what do you need to see to help that grower secure that loan or that better interest rate? And the information contained in the financial summary is what came back. This tracks our revenue per acre right down to that sales unit, as well as our expenses and our nets. And again, we're running both of our canola and peas crop plans off this, and there's a grand total below. So you can imagine taking this kind of a report into the bank with 3 to 5 years of sustained profitability shown really gives you a lot of power to secure a better interest rate or secure that loan. Now the next report is our field report, and this is the one report I can't run multiple crop plans on. And it's because it's a snapshot or a blueprint of what's happening in a single field in real time. So this is field 3, it's on the peas plan, it's 100 acres, and as we scroll down, another expenses breakdown built in. I really like to look at this one because not only is it an overall cost for seed for the field or the acre, it even tells me right down on that sales unit, in this case bushels, how much my seed is costing me per bushel. And then this one goes and shows me every application, its date, its timing, its application rate, its cost per acre. Now, I did say blueprint before, and I like to call this the blueprint because it will bring in the last taken soil sample for this field, and we've given the ability for you or your trusted advisor to add up to 5,000 characters in here to add their great agronomy soil novel and let you know exactly what you should be doing on the fields. Just scroll right down to the very bottom because it's not just the product applications that we're adding into this report, we're also bringing in those expenses. It really is a true snapshot of what's happening in a field in real time. Now, we did talk about crop sharing. I do have 2 reports that will auto-generate based on those parameters you enter in. The first is crop share by crop plan. And this shows everybody participating in a crop plan, what their share percentage is, and then their income, applications, expenses, and net revenue. There is a page 2 to this report, and the only detail that changes is Bob McDonald here has an asterisk, and he's not paying any expenses. He's just taking pure profit on this crop. More often than not, though, you don't want all of your participants to see what everybody's making, so we do have this report here, the crop share detail, which just shows an individual participant, their levels in the different crop plans they're participating in, with an overall income down below. Now, this is a good opportunity to mention data. Within Compass, you own every ounce of data that you put into the program, and you can export it at any time you choose into an already formatted Excel spreadsheet. So it's not a data dump where you might have to mine through the data and figure out what can be saved, what can be used. No, we give you 100% of the data you enter into Compass into that already formatted Excel spreadsheet, which in itself can almost act as though it's its own report. Using Excel's built-in filters, you can dial in right exactly what you're looking for. Included in Compass is the ability to track soil. And we already have a data connection to A&L Labs Canada, which means you can almost automate your soil sampling through the Compass system. Generate the soil samples, generate your paperwork, send it off to A&L, and when the results come back in, they automatically populate into Compass. But that doesn't mean you can't use the soil pillar. You do have the ability to manually add your own soil results from an outside or unattached lab. It's very simple to create a soil sample in Compass, and you may notice the red boxes. Red boxes in Compass do denote that you have to put some information in order to save the item. And we've done this in very few places throughout the program to make it very quick and simple for you to come in, add the information you really care about, save and move on. So rather than forcing you to put in information you don't care about, Compass allows you to really manage your farm and keep your time consistent. I'm just going to do one sample per depth, and if I wanted A&L Labs recommendations, I could click here, fill out my intended alternate or previous crop. In this case, we're going to leave that blank, and we're going to scroll down and just add our depth details. Now I can add up to 4 standard and add more depths if I need. I do have to select at least one test from the drop-down menu, and don't worry if you don't understand this acronym. It's direct from A&L Labs Canada, but we built the soil test legend in down below. And if your lab does testing as well, their acronym may be different, but the tests contained within are usually the same, so you can really find exactly what you want. Now, what I can also do is select all the fields that this test parameters is going to apply to. So 0 to 6 inches, S1B, I'm going to do these 4 fields. So Compass allows me to create one, and it's created now a test line for each one of those 4 fields, so that can save me quite a bit of time. And before I go ahead and do anything more, I just want to show you some of the options that are available once we've created that soil sample. I can click Edit Header and change any of the information up above. I can lock the soil sample if I was going to manually add my own test results. Or let's go back to that listing and see the options, the other options that are available as well. If I want to benchmark where I'm taking my soil from, I can turn on the map, and as I'm out there collecting the bags of soil, I can click on the globe icon down here and Compass will add a pin marker exactly where it detects my location. But we also give you the option, if you forgot to do it when you're in the field but know where you took that sample from, you can manually add a soil sample pin. And for benchmarking purposes, we are going to track that latitude and longitude for you. So next year when I come out to select the soil sample, I will take this lat and long, put it into my GPS, and find my way back to that exact point. Working with A&L Labs, I can print my soil labels, also my submission forms, and send them into the lab. What does it look like when a soil sample gets back? This is the printable report I have with all of my soil details up top, as well as I've added my 5,000 characters in for my agronomy notes or my soil recommendations. Now, contained within soil is also some powerful data filters, and the first one where I'm going to show you is soil trends. This is a graph that can show you a tale of what's happening in that soil over time. So I'm just going to pick a field here that's got multiple samples, and then we'll update and add a few more than the first 2 in. And then over on the right-hand side, while that's loading, you can see all the different nutrients that we can select. Compass has pre-selected P1, S, and K for me. And now I can come over and select any appropriate nutrients we want to track and see what's happened over the course of taking soil samples in this field. Now when I head back to the graph, not only do I have that legend that matches up top to the color-coded lines, but as I hover over any one of these test points, I get the micros and ppm at time of test return. So I can really see what's happened over time in this field, from a fallow field we weren't planting, to putting our first applications of fertilizer down to build those nutrients up, our first harvest from that field, which pulled some of that nutrient out, and a reapplication. Also, I can see this based on a depth scatter or even a nutrient percentage. Now, also within Compass, not only can you export your data, but you can also use some built-in data filters to really find what you want. So in this spot with soil, I can look for a specific date range. I can look for a specific report date, and I can even set limiters to exactly what I want to see. Perhaps I just want to see potassium that was less than 200 parts per million. By clicking Excel, only soil sample results with potassium less than 200 parts per million will go out to the Excel form. If I left this blank, all of my returned soil samples and results will go to the same Excel spreadsheet, and then I can use Excel's built-in filters to really see exactly what I want and help build those nutrient management plans. Also included with your Compass subscription is scouting. Now, I did say Compass is a cloud-based program, but we did build an offline capable scouting app. Offline meaning you don't have to have a data signal, and it is available for modern smartphones, whether that's through Android or Apple, and is included with your subscription. Your Compass login and password will get you into the scouting app. You can scout in an offline function with all the features that I'm going to show you now, as well as when you get back into a good area of data signal, you can click upload and send it directly into the Compass program. Now let's show you how easy it is to do. Rather than adding a brand new scout, let's add a brand new scout. I can select all the fields that I'm going to scout today. And Compass knows whether or not it's on an active crop plan and what variety we're growing. In this case, all 3 fields are not on an active crop plan, so I could type in what I'm going to be growing or planning on growing. If I don't add a date in, which I have the opportunity to predate, backdate, or take today's date, Compass will automatically fill in today's date for me. And here's all the different observation types we can add, whether soil, crop, weed, insect, disease, a section for just general comments, also a section for product recommendations. File upload is my picture upload, and the handy Sclerotinia checklist. Let's take a look and add an observation in each. So you'll notice in any of these observations, there are no red boxes. If I just wanted to track air temperature today, and that's all I was after, for Glen Abbey Field, geotag that to where my location is, or click here and bring up the map for these fields if I forgot to do it when I was in the field and still add that georeference point. I can click add, and that's just the details it takes. So I'm not required to enter in any information I'm not interested in just to get to the one part I am. I can add as many observations per section as I wish. I'm not restricted to 1, 10, or 50. For crop observation, here's the information we can add. And based on the crop type we select, we've already built in different crop stages that are appropriate. However, we know quite often you may want to work with your own custom crop stage. This is the one I've made in my system, and we give you the option to add your own as well. We can also add weed observations, and again, most of these drop-down menus are customizable to really make this personal for your farm. Here's what we can add for insect observations, disease observations. As mentioned, a section for general comments, which gives you up to 2,000 characters to add your different comments in. Your product recommendations. So if you're working with a trusted advisor or a retailer or want to add your own product recommendations based on an observation you saw, let's say an insect, a disease, or a weed, you know you should probably get an application down to deal with that. This allows you to break out your suggested apply date. How are you going to apply that? And it even allows you to select a product from your own list of products that you have in the Compass program, as well as your application rate and costs. If you're working with that trusted advisor, we do give them the availability to update the legal disclaimer for themselves. File upload is where you can take a picture, and by clicking browse on my smartphone or tablet, it's going to ask me to open up the camera and take a picture. Now, if I was using the app version, which is offline, it gives me one extra option, which is an edit feature. I can click edit, select from a 4-color palette, and then draw on that picture to highlight different items. So think an insect or maybe some leaf rust or root rot. You want to highlight that for the grower or for somebody else on the farm, maybe even the agronomist, so that they know exactly what to look for in that picture. Last but not least is the built-in Sclerotinia checklist, and this is a simple multi-choice questionnaire based on your answers that you fill out. It will give you a score, and based on your score, you'll either be recommended a foliar fungicide, or in this case, I'm not at risk, I should be okay. At the very end, we have the opportunity to view the PDF, which I happen to have a PDF version right available here. And so there's that field snapshot we did back when mapping the field, all my geo-referenced observation locations, and Compass keeps your scouting clean. So if I was scouting multiple fields, each field gets its own page and is organized by small or first in the alphabet or numerical all the way up. So it's not confusing when you have to look through comments and figure out which field it's for. It's all on its own page. Also within Compass, we keep scouting clean. If I didn't add a crop observation, none of this section would populate in. It just wouldn't be added to the scout record. As we scroll down, we can see all of our different observations. The next page has a picture of the pod weevil or seed weevil. And I filled out the Sclerotinia checklist on this. And I need a foliar fungicide. Back to scouting, and we do have some options that are available in the web version that aren't on the app. But since you're going to be uploading from the app into the web version, let's take a look at some of those options that we have. So from the listing, I'm going to go to one of my existing Scout records. The first thing I want to highlight is this little mail icon. It lets me know that I've already emailed this Scout record to somebody. And so that's one of the features that's available here in the web, is I can email directly from the field before I've even left after creating this Scout record to multiple email addresses. Click Send PDF and I send it right to those appropriate people. I can view the PDF that we just looked at. I can go back and edit the report and add or remove any observations. But here's a handy feature that's available in the web version, as well as this email log showing when and who I've emailed to. Let's click the View Map option. And that brings up the fields that we've tracked, as well as those observations. So let's zoom in a little bit on that field. And as I get closer, you can see those georeferenced observations. And as I click on them, I can see each and every single observation. But the handy feature that's in here is this, location tracking. I'm going to turn that on, and Compass just wants to verify it's going to use my device's GPS to figure out where I am. Now, as I zoom this map out, that blue dot is representative of my current location, and as I start to move, that blue dot will move with me and walk me back to those locations. So a handy feature if you're working with a trusted advisor and you want to go back and see what they observed, or vice versa. As you're walking there, if you see new items, you can actually click Edit Scout Record and add new ones as you're walking back. Now we've got a couple of data features in here that are very handy for you as well. The first is Scout Filter. And this one works in program or is exportable to Microsoft Excel as well. So handy for me, I quite often forget exactly where I saw an observation. I know I saw it. So in this case, it's an insect. I know I saw an aphid issue. I just can't remember what field and when I saw it. I'm going to use the filter option and do this in program because I'm standing in front of one of my fields ready to go out and scout and want to know if this is the one. So what Compass is doing now is it's going through every scout record I've added for my farm, looking for an insect observation that matches aphids. And it's going to present them to me from oldest to newest with the individual observation, information about what scout record it's on, so I can go back and look at more details. In this case, I know that we saw it on field 6 in 2017, 2018 Glen Abbey, later on in 2018 Glen Abbey, very late in 2018 Glen Abbey. So to me now, I'm noticing this is a trending issue. Perhaps it's time to worry about getting a product recommendation down there to deal with it. Very handy feature if you just want to find something specific. Also, we have a farm status filter. In this case, again, I'm going to run the filter in program, and this tells me when I last scouted one of my fields, who scouted it, the scout ID I can go to view that, but also if I've never scouted a field. Now, if you'll remember, we had a calendar on the front dashboard page that I could add scouting activities to. And based on running this and seeing that I have a few fields I need to go out and schedule some scouting for, that can take me over here to schedule, where I can now add a scouting activity direct to that calendar on my dashboard, whether I'm scouting a field or a crop. If I select field, all of my fields on the farm are available. If I select crop, only crops in an active crop plan are going to show. Save, and just like that, it's been added to the calendar as well as here. I also have the opportunity to email or invite people to this different scouting activity, but I can also download all of these activities to its own custom calendar and keep them separated from my regular personal or work calendars. Now let's take a look at the contract pillar in Compass. Compass is a full traceability system, and it ends here in contracts where we pull all of our harvests off the fields, identify the when, the where, and where we're storing it. But Compass is a true seed to sale traceability system, and it starts by building our crop plans and identifying all those applications, and again ties here in contracts. Now before I start over on inputs, let's go a little bit backwards on this one, and we're going to start with storage, where I can track all the different yards I have on the farm, and by clicking on a yard, I can see all the different bins that I have contained. Let's go down and take a look at the bins. So overall, this is going to track all of my bins, what crop is in them, the quantity versus the capacity, and also an alternative measurement that I can track here as well. But it gives me a visual representation letting me know bin A is 60% full right now of HRS CDC Go. I also have the availability to view all my bags on the farm, as well as my overall inventory. So not only does the top up here show me exactly what I've got sitting in my bins, capacity of the bin and available space, same thing with my bags, but it also shows me in the crop summary what bushels I have allocated to a specific crop contract versus what do I have cash crop available. Very handy if I know the elevator today is taking wheat HRS CDC Go, and they call me up and say, how much do you have available? I have these 3,000 bushels, these 6,000, and these 15,000. This 5, this 10, and this 3 are allocated to a different contract, and I can't send them out today. Now, speaking of contracts, I've got multiple ways to track that. First of all, we can track all the buyers that you sell to. You can have an unlimited number of different buyers in here as well. And then we can track your contracts by adding them in here in listing, and who the buyer is, what type of contract it is, the variety, quantity, maturity and contract date, any delivery instructions, and is it open or filled. But I showed you that visual aspect in bins, and I really want to go back to that. So I'm going to go to contract position. And this is the same information we just saw, but in a more visual format. So not only do I know who the buyer is, that it's for wheat HRS CDC Go, but also my per bushel sell price, the quantity I've currently shipped to that contract, maturity date, and how much is remaining to be shipped. So in this case, 25%. And I did say full traceability. So if I click on that crop contract, I can see more details about it, but also what bushels do I have specifically allocated to it? And what have I shipped and when? So if I was ever questioned to show what I shipped, when I shipped it, how I shipped it, I can always come here and see everything that has been sent historically, reprint the documentation, or go right back to that item in Compass. As well, just like every other section, I can export everything to Microsoft Excel. Now I am going to jump all the way over to the left here to input, and let's talk bringing those bushels in and the traceability aspects. So let's select that crop variety that we had before, our wheat HRS CDC Go, because we have a crop plan for that. And we're going to select the one that we tracked our bushels on. Now if I come down here and I select field 5, you'll remember we did a harvest on the field level, and there it is. So rather than have to fill out my date and quantity, I can select that harvest and pull it into a location. I have the option to associate this to a contract or allocate it to it, meaning I can only ship to this contract, or I can select it as no contract and make it cash croppable or sellable to anybody. Scroll down and Compass allows me to select, am I going to put this into a bin, into a bag, or even create a brand new bag out in the field. Let's select bin. And one of the other features we've built into the Compass program is we've eliminated the ability to accidentally cross-contaminate by putting this HRS CDC Go into a bin that maybe already has durum or a carberry, a different kind of wheat, or even a different crop product. Let's put it into this 6,000 of 10,000 bushel bin, and it shows me what's currently in there, what we're planning to add, and any available space. And just like in crop planning, it's a two-phase. I can click Add Input. It shows me the information for this harvest. And if I like everything, it's all correct, I can click Save Inputs, and in real time, it's updated that bin with those bushels and that storage location. And now I have all my reprintable documentation for any of those inputs or shipments. Now let's do a shipment out. And I'll show you in two ways how you can do a shipment. The first is by selecting my buyer, and if I wanted to ship to a specific contract. By doing that, Compass now shows me what's allocated to that contract or only shippable to it, but also any unallocated inventory that can help me fulfill that remaining contract I have. Now, the other way we can do it is selecting just no contract. And by doing that, it will only let me see any crop varieties and quantities I have that are cash croppable today. Let's select that same HRS CDC Go, and you'll notice down below it's only showing me now the unallocated inventory. Now I do have to pick a delivery date, but everything else is not mandatory. You can add your own reference number, your own invoice number, tracking number, moisture percentage, grade, and even your dockage. Now by putting a number in dockage, it's going to automatically remove that percentage from the amount of bushels or tons I'm shipping. And speaking of shipping, you have multiple ways to do things. You can track a weigh scale reading and how did you weigh that. You can decide what shipping unit you want to send out in. So if you don't want to ship in bushels, you want to do metric tons, we'll do the conversion for you and change those bushels to metric tons. Come down to bushels here, and we can now add a price per bushel in. And now when I go down and click Save the shipment after I've selected some bushels to ship, Compass is going to automatically calculate out a few things. It's going to calculate out, based on that price per bushel, the amount of bushels we're sending minus our dockage, exactly what we could be picking up as far as a check at the elevator. And this is all reprintable. Lastly, in here, you can do transfers from location to location. So within Compass, you want to have that traceability. If you're moving from one 50% full bin to another one, you want to know the who, what, when, where, and why. And with transfer, you can do that. And you can transfer from bin to bag, bag to bin, bin to bin, bag to bag, all over. The last section included with your Compass subscription is stock. And quite a few of the options in here were originally designed from a retailer perspective, where we knew that a lot of times growers or customers would show up, not have time to go into the retail location, but they wanted to be able to track exactly what that customer picked up rather than having a handwritten note. But we noticed growers were sometimes doing sales to neighbors or even giving them a credit for something they bought, and so we left these sections in there. So you can do a quick sale, select your item and your quantity, even get the person who's buying to put their signature right on the line, and then you get a printable ticket that shows all the parameters you entered. Purchasing is also very handy when you're out at the retailer. You can do all of your purchases and have them added to your Compass stock quantities before you've even gotten back to the farm or even received that delivery. Internal allows you to do a movement from location to location or even an adjustment if you count more quantity than you initially had in your inventory or less and need to do a negative adjustment down. Compass also gives you the availability to have multiple storage locations for your chemicals or your applications, especially if you have multiple farms 50 to 60 kilometers away. It could be cheaper for you to have multiple storage locations and just fill up the sprayer at each farm. This way you can track where everything is. The Review tab lets you look at your current inventory, any transactions historically you've made, a quick inventory overview, a Verify inventory for your year-end inventory counts, and forecast inventory overview. Now, I did say when we were in the crop pillar, we were going to come back and see what that favorite plan checkbox did. And this is where it applies. It brings those favorited plans to the top of a selectable menu for all of the forecast plans. Now, this is a very handy section where we can go and select all of the plans that we're actually looking at growing this year. And what I mean by a handy report is I'm going to click submit. And now Compass is going to go and say, based on what we forecasted and what you currently have in stock, here's how short or how much you have. So for absolute max, I'm applying 73 liters according to my forecast crop plans. I have 0 in stock. I need 73 liters. But for an item like my heat LQ, I have 3,411 liters in stock. I'm predicting to apply 503. I don't need to buy anything. Last, let's talk the 2 add-ons that can be available. CDMS is Crop Data Management Services, and it's more handy for an agronomist or a retailer to be able to make chemical application prescriptions. So CDMS will do a chemical cross-check, give all the labeling instructions, applications instructions, MSDS sheets, as well as PPE equipment required, and allows for an unlimited amount of prescriptions across growers' fields. D2D, or Compass Day-to-Day, is our hosted bookkeeping service. We know as growers you're not accountants by trade, but accounting is something that we have to do on the farm. Quite often we don't have enough time for it or we put it aside, but it's becoming more and more prevalent in Canada that you need to have your books up to date in order to deal with the banks or deal with your retailers. We designed Compass Day-to-Day to fill that gap for people who don't have the time to do their books and need some extra help. In this case, we will do all your day-to-day bookkeeping for you, provide you all the reporting you need monthly, and work with your accountant to deliver that reporting. And it doesn't get any simpler. We'll provide you with our Compass Day-to-Day hosted bookkeeping app, which allows you to take pictures of your receipts, your purchase orders, your invoices, and it will read a lot of the detail automatically off that. You punch in the remainder, and then you upload it to Compass. From there, our team will do all the processing in our accounting software, giving you a view-only portal in to see exactly what's happening, but also the ability to reprint that receipt or document if you lose the original. Last, let's talk some of the customization options you can do in the Compass program. Right up above my login name here is where we can put the farm logo. That personalizes the program to you and will print on all of your reports that you can actually print out of the program. And lastly, I'm going to talk list management. Throughout this demonstration, you've noticed a lot of drop-down menus. Not only do you get to customize and create your own product list with your own pricing, manage and monitor it with no needed intervention from the Compass team, you can customize every single one of these drop-down menus, which really personalizes the program to you, allows you to dial it in for what you do on your farm, because even though you and your neighbor may have the same Compass program, you farm differently and you want to track different items. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you've learned a lot more about Compass. Please call us at 1-866-278-9530 for a one-on-one personalized demonstration today.